and welcome to another episode of the Property Wealth Podcast. We're so glad you're joining us today.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. And this topic we're diving into today, well, it's really important, especially for those who might be facing some life changes.
Yeah, we're talking about divorce and real estate protecting your assets. It's a heavy topic, but we want to approach it with a sense of hope and practicality.
Right, because navigating real estate during a divorce can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. We're here to break it down and give you some solid advice.
We'll cover things like how to assess what you have, the importance of getting a good appraisal, and why communication with your partner is key, even if things are tense.
Exactly. And we'll also touch on strategies for dividing assets fairly, how to make informed decisions about selling or keeping the property, and what to consider if you're looking to buy a new place afterward.
So whether you're currently going through a divorce or just want to be prepared for any future changes, we're here to guide you through this process, step by step.
Let's jump right in then.
Yeah, let's get started with the first point, assessing your current assets and understanding what you really own.
You know, Sarah, when we talk about divorce and real estate, it's not just a matter of splitting assets. It's really about protecting your financial future, especially for people over 40.
Absolutely, Mike. I mean, at that age, many folks are starting to think seriously about retirement, right? It's a big life transition, and suddenly dealing with the divorce can feel like a double whammy.
Exactly. I've seen it too often, where someone thinks, oh, I'll just sell the house and we'll split the proceeds, but they don't fully grasp the long-term implications.
Yeah, and with inflation hitting hard these days, that can really change the game. Selling the family home might seem like an immediate solution, but what if those funds don't stretch as far as they used to?
Right. I had a client named Tom, let's call him, who went through a divorce last year. He was in his early 50s and thought that cashing out on his home would give him a solid financial cushion. But after he sold and paid everything off, he found that the cost of living had skyrocketed, and he was left with much less than he anticipated.
Wow, that's a tough lesson to learn. So what would you say he could have done differently?
Well, one option would have been to consider retaining the home. I mean, it could have been a rental property, generating income instead of just selling it outright. It's about looking at real estate as a long-term investment, you know?
Yeah, and that's really key. Many people over 40 are thinking about wealth transfer to their kids or grandkids, and property can be a huge part of that.
Definitely. I had another client, Lisa, who is also going through a divorce. Instead of selling the house, she decided to keep it, rent it out, and use the income to support herself during the transition.
Smart move! So she not only maintained an asset, but also created a revenue stream.
Exactly. And in the current economic climate, having that extra cash flow can provide a real sense of security. It takes the pressure off, especially when you're facing a lot of uncertainty.
That's a great point. People need to feel financially secure, especially after a significant life change like divorce. It's emotional as much as it is financial, right?
Absolutely. And let's not forget about market shifts. Real estate can be a hedge against inflation. If you own a property, its value may appreciate over time, even if the economy is rocky.
Right. So for someone like Tom, if he had held onto his property, he might have seen its value increase rather than just getting a one-time payout.
Exactly. And, there's also the emotional aspect of holding onto a home. For many people, it's a place filled with memories, and selling might mean losing that connection.
That's so true. It's not just about the numbers. There's a lot of heart that goes into these decisions.
Yeah, so when you're over 40, you start to think about legacy too. How do you want to pass on your wealth? Property can be a tangible asset that your family can benefit from long after you're gone.
Yeah, and it's often a more straightforward transfer than other types of investments. Real estate is something physical that people can understand and appreciate, unlike stocks or complex financial instruments.
Right, and we're seeing more people nowadays looking for stability. With market fluctuations, having a solid property can provide a sense of reassurance.
Oh, absolutely. I think many people are realizing that real estate isn't just a place to live. It's a cornerstone of financial planning, especially for those who might not have a traditional retirement savings plan in place.
For sure. And let's think about how the emotional side plays into it. After a divorce, there's often a lot of stress, and having that stability can really help.
Totally. It provides a sense of normalcy in a time of upheaval.
Exactly. Plus, it can serve as a space for healing. I've seen clients who turned their homes into rental properties and found empowerment in that transition. They took control of their situations instead of feeling like they were just reacting.
That's inspiring. It's about reclaiming your narrative, isn't it?
Yes, and it's not just about the immediate benefits. It's about setting yourself up for the future. The longer you hold on to real estate, the more it can work for you.
Right, and with interest rates fluctuating, there's a chance to leverage financing in a way that can protect your assets, too.
Exactly. You can refinance, tap into equity, or even consider creative financing options that might not have been available before.
It really makes you think about the potential for growth, even in challenging times.
Absolutely. And as we transition into some core strategies, it's all about being proactive. Understanding your options and making informed decisions can set you on a path toward long-term wealth.
Well said, Mike. It's about taking charge of your financial future, even when things feel uncertain.
Exactly. And I think that's where we'll dive deeper into some practical strategies next. So, when we talk about protecting your assets during a divorce, it's really important to first understand the value of the properties involved, right? You want to be clear on what you own and how much it's worth.
Absolutely, and getting a proper appraisal can really help with that. But let's dig into some of the core strategies that can help listeners navigate this, especially in real estate.
Right. A solid starting point is the 1% rule. Essentially, it suggests that a rental property should generate at least 1% of its purchase price in monthly rent.
So, for example, if you buy a property for $200,000, you'd want to see it rent for about $2,000 a month?
Exactly. That gives you a quick way to evaluate whether a property is worth pursuing. And it's a good benchmark to keep in mind, especially when you're considering cash flow needs after a divorce.
That makes sense. And what about the 50% rule? I've heard of that one too.
The 50% rule states that you should expect about half of your rental income to go towards expenses like maintenance, property management, and vacancies. So if you're bringing in $2,000 a month, you should plan on spending about $1,000.
Wow, that really helps when budgeting for a property. But what if someone's not familiar with these rules? How can they evaluate a deal step by step?
Great question. A simple checklist can work wonders. First, you want to look at the property's location. Is it in a desirable area? Are there schools, parks, and shopping nearby?
Right, location is key. Then what?
Next, check the property condition. Do you need to factor in renovation costs? That's crucial. You don't want to underestimate how much work a place needs.
Definitely. And then there's financing options, right?
Yes, absolutely. When you're going through a divorce, you might have to get creative with financing. For instance, if one party wants to keep the home, they could look into refinancing it in their name, which can help remove the other spouse from the mortgage.
That's a good point. And what if someone can't afford the house after the divorce?
They might consider selling it. It's often better than keeping a property that's financially burdensome, especially if it's not generating income. Plus, they can split the equity, which can help both parties move forward.
Right, and I guess that's where understanding your property types comes in, too. Not all properties are created equal when it comes to cash flow and appreciation potential.
Exactly. Single-family homes can be great for long-term appreciation, but they might not always produce immediate cash flow. Multifamily units, on the other hand, can provide more consistent rental income.
And that can be super important during a time of transition like a divorce. So, let's talk about markets. How should someone evaluate whether a market is good for investing?
Well, you want to look at job growth, population trends, and rental demand. A growing job market usually leads to a growing population, which can increase rental demand.
So, if you see a new tech company moving into a town, that might be a sign to consider investing there?
Precisely. And don't forget to check local vacancy rates. A low vacancy rate means more demand, which is a good sign for potential rental income.
Got it. And how about cap rates? Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. The capitalization rate, or cap rate, is a way to measure a property's potential return on investment. You calculate it by taking the net operating income of the property and dividing it by the purchase price.
So if a property generates $20,000 a year in net income and you buy it for $200,000, your cap rate would be 10%?
Exactly. A higher cap rate suggests a better return on your investment, but it can also indicate higher risk. So it's all about finding a balance.
That's really helpful. How do you feel about deal evaluation checklists?
Oh, they're a lifesaver. Along with location and financial metrics, you should consider things like property management options, tenant demographics, and even the local economy's health.
So it's a holistic view, right? You want to consider the entire picture, not just the numbers.
Yes, and if you can, always try to get a second opinion from someone with experience.
That's a good tip. But, what if someone feels overwhelmed by all this?
That's totally understandable. Having a good real estate agent who knows the market can help guide you through the process and keep you grounded.
Absolutely. And they can help navigate the emotional side of things too.
Right. It's a lot to handle, especially during a divorce.
So before we move on to discuss common pitfalls, is there anything else you think is crucial for protecting assets?
Just remember to keep communication open between both parties, especially if you are co-owning a property or deciding on selling. It's easier to make decisions when both sides are involved and informed.
That's solid advice, Mike. I think that wraps up the core strategies nicely. Let's transition into some of the common pitfalls people might face during this time.
Sounds good. It's important to be aware of those, especially when emotions can cloud judgment. So, one of the biggest pitfalls I see, especially after a divorce, is over-leveraging. People just getting too far into debt.
Right. It's like they feel this pressure to make up for lost time. Or perhaps they think they need to invest heavily to recover financially.
Exactly. I had a client, let's call him David. After his divorce, he jumped into a couple of properties he couldn't really afford. He thought he was being smart, diversifying his investments. But with each property, he took on more debt than he could handle.
That's tough. What happened to David?
Well, he ended up with cash flow issues. The rents didn't cover the mortgages and maintenance. He was stretched thin, and it just spiraled from there.
Wow, that sounds stressful. So how can someone avoid that kind of situation?
The key is to really assess your financial situation first. Know what you can afford, without stretching yourself too thin. A good rule of thumb is to keep your debt-to-income ratio in check.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess having a solid emergency fund is crucial too.
Absolutely. You want some cushion for those unexpected expenses, and believe me, they'll come up.
So what about bad tenants? That's another area where people can get burned, right?
Definitely. I've seen it happen too often. Investors don't screen their tenants properly, or they rush the process just to fill the space.
What's the impact of that?
Oh, it can be huge. I once worked with a woman, let's call her Lisa. She was so eager to get her rental property filled that she skipped the background check. The tenant turned out to be, let's say, less than ideal, not paying rent on time, causing damage.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. She ended up spending thousands on repairs and legal fees just to evict him.
So what do you recommend for tenant screening?
You want to be thorough. Check credit scores, rental history, and do those background checks. It's worth the time and effort to avoid the headaches later.
And what about cash flow? That seems like a big one to keep an eye on.
For sure. Ignoring cash flow can be a deal breaker. I've seen investors who focus too much on appreciation, thinking their properties will just skyrocket in value.
Right. But if the cash flow isn't there...
Exactly! I had a client. Let's call him Tom. He bought a property in an up-and-coming neighborhood, but he didn't account for the fact that the rents wouldn't cover his mortgage.
So he was just banking on future value, huh?
Yep. And when the market didn't move as fast as he thought it would, he found himself in a tough spot, struggling to make the monthly payments.
So it's really about balancing those expectations with reality, right?
Absolutely. You should always calculate your cash flow before making a purchase. Look at the potential rental income against expenses.
And timing the market. That's another common pitfall, isn't it?
Definitely. People think they can time the market, jump in at the right moment, and then cash out quickly.
But that's a risky game to play.
It sure is. I had a client, we'll call her Amy, who waited for what she thought was the perfect moment to buy. But then prices shot up before she could act.
And then she missed her opportunity?
Exactly. By the time she was ready, the properties she was eyeing had doubled in price.
So what's the solution there?
The best approach is to focus on long-term investment. Don't get caught up in the highs and lows of the market.
Yeah, it's more about finding a good property at a reasonable price rather than waiting for that perfect moment.
Right. And don't forget about hidden costs. They can sneak up on you if you're not careful.
What kind of hidden costs are we talking about?
Well, things like maintenance, insurance, property taxes, even HOA fees can add up quickly. I had a client named Mark who didn't factor in the HOA fees when he bought a condo.
Ouch.
Yeah, he was shocked when he found out that the fees were significantly higher than he anticipated. It ate into his cash flow pretty badly.
So it sounds like doing thorough research on all those costs is essential.
Absolutely. You need to account for every expense to understand your true cash flow.
And I suppose that means doing your due diligence before making a purchase, right?
Exactly, and looking for red flags early on can save you a lot of trouble down the road.
What would you say are some red flags to watch out for?
Well, if a property has unusually low rental rates compared to the market, that could be a sign. Or if the owner is reluctant to provide maintenance records.
Those are great tips, Mike.
Thanks. And, it's important to trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is.
So to wrap this up, what's the next step for someone who thinks they might be facing these pitfalls?
Well, the first step is to take a step back and reassess your financial situation, your goals, and your current investments. Find a good advisor if you need one.
And stay educated, right?
Absolutely. Knowledge is your best defense against these common pitfalls.
Great advice, Mike. I think that gives our listeners a lot to think about.
So when it comes to taking those next steps after a divorce, Sarah, it can feel overwhelming, right? But really it's about breaking it down into manageable pieces.
Absolutely, Mike. I think the first thing is to get clarity on your financial situation. That means gathering all those documents, bank statements, property deeds, anything related to your assets.
Right, and once you've got those in hand, it might be worth investing in a good financial advisor. Someone who understands real estate and can help you map out a strategy that works for you.
And if hiring a financial advisor feels like a big step, you can start small. There are a ton of online resources and apps that can help. For example, using Zillow to check property values in your area can give you a better idea of where you stand.
Exactly. And speaking of tools, have you heard of the Bigger Pockets calculator? It's fantastic for analyzing potential investment properties. You can run the numbers on cash flow, ROI, all of that.
Oh, I love that one. And DealCheck is another great app. It allows you to analyze rental properties and flips. You can compare different deals and see which ones might be worth pursuing.
Yup. And don't forget about Rentometer. It helps you determine if your rental rates are competitive based on similar properties in your area. Super helpful for making those decisions.
That's so true. And if you have access to your local MLS, that's another treasure trove of information. You can see what's been selling, for how much, and how long it took.
Exactly. And if you're just starting out, I'd recommend setting a habit of analyzing at least one deal a week. It doesn't have to be a big deal, just something to keep your skills sharp.
That's a great tip. And joining a local real estate meetup can be a game changer too. Connecting with people who've been through similar situations can offer both support and knowledge.
Definitely. Networking can open doors you didn't even know existed. Sometimes, just having a conversation can lead to a great opportunity or partnership.
And for those who prefer learning on the go, there are some fantastic podcasts out there. Bigger Pockets has a great one that covers everything from beginner tips to advanced strategies.
For sure. And books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki can really shift your mindset about investing and wealth building. It's a classic for a reason.
Right. And the book on rental property investing by Brandon Turner is another solid resource. It's packed with practical advice and real-life examples.
So, starting where you are is key. It doesn't have to be about making huge leaps right away. Just take those small steps and build from there.
Exactly, Mike. Even just dedicating time each week to educate yourself or analyze properties can lead to big changes over time.
And remember, it's okay to feel a bit lost at first. The important thing is to keep moving forward, even if it's just a little bit at a time.
So true. And as you start to take action, keep a journal of your thoughts and progress. It can really help you see how far you've come.
Yes! Reflecting on your journey can be so empowering, and it keeps you focused on your goals, especially during challenging times.
And if you ever feel stuck, don't hesitate to reach out for help. Whether it's a mentor, a friend, or a professional, there's always someone willing to support you.
That's such an important reminder. You're not alone in this process. There's a whole community out there ready to help you succeed.
And with these tools in your pocket, you're ready to move forward. Let's recap what we've covered today.
Well, as we wrap up this episode, I think it's important to highlight a few key takeaways.
Absolutely. The first one that stands out to me is the importance of understanding your rights, especially when it comes to dividing assets during a divorce. Knowing what you're entitled to can really make a difference.
Right. And then we talked about the value of getting a professional appraisal. It's not just about the numbers. It can help ensure that you're not leaving money on the table.
Yes, and let's not forget about the financial planning aspect. Creating a clear budget post-divorce is crucial for anyone looking to invest in real estate down the line.
Exactly. That leads us to the fourth point, considering the long-term implications of any real estate decisions you make during this time. It's all about building a foundation for your future.
And finally, we mentioned the significance of working with professionals, like real estate agents and financial advisors, who understand the nuances of divorce and real estate. They can really help navigate those tricky waters.
Yeah, it's all about surrounding yourself with the right support. So, for everyone listening, remember that building wealth through real estate is a marathon, not a sprint.
Definitely. It's about making informed decisions today for a better tomorrow.
And if you found value in this episode, please like, subscribe, and, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have.
And don't forget to share this with someone over 40 who's looking to invest in property.
Next time, we'll dive into estate planning for real estate investors, which is super important for protecting your assets and ensuring your legacy.
We can't wait to explore that with you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.